Good afternoon, my friends. It's not yet afternoon. Good morning, rather, right? This is Yuri Dashevsky, Yura. People are used to seeing me much later during the day, but this one is in English. And as my guest, I have a very busy man. His name is Nicholas Chamberas. He's a political strategist. Good morning, Nicholas.
Good morning, Yuri. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm very excited. I wanted to get you in earlier. Right before the campaign, you were helping Mr. Vito Bruno to get into the state senate, right, from Bay Ridge, New York.
Right.
So,
Right. We came pretty close.
so now it's a sort of thoughts on the campaign. Tell me, please, how did it come to be to this whole attempt? What was the highlights, the milestones of your way to the final day of the elections, November 3rd?
Well, we were David versus Goliath, and David was winning, and we lost in a technicality to Goliath. And no one expected such a heated contest, at least not in the beginning. Uh, for most of the campaign, we were outspent 40 to 1, believe it or not. In the end, we were outspent about 20 to 1. That's a rough estimate. And Vito Bruno is a political neophyte. He did us a favor and ran for borough president a couple of years ago in a contest that we knew would be an uphill battle, to say the least. But he focused on issues and sort of introduced himself to the public. But this time around, in the beginning, in January, the punditocracy, if you will, the professional pundits in both parties, many from both parties, gave Vito very little chance to reclaim this seat. But on election day, after election day, we were up by 6,000 votes. Of course, the substantial mail-in ballots came in, and we lost barely. But it was quite an adventure. And I'm proud of the effort that we ran.
Yeah, I've been to the office. Frankly, full disclosure, we advertised for Mr. Bruno on our radio, Freedom FM radio, and it was good interview. A lot of people liked it. Of course, there was a language barrier because we geared towards a Russian-speaking audience in New York, but I think the Russian segment did its part. And we are very conservative for the most part, at least those people who actually vote are conservative. But you were really facing big guns, right? With all this Edie Falco's commercial and all this flyers plastered all over Brooklyn. It was just ridiculous, unparalleled.
Yuri, that's a great point. It was ridiculous, and that's almost, well, it's actually what makes me proud of our effort, because basically we had a few people working on the campaign. We had a lot of very good volunteers, even during COVID, against dozens of professional, highly paid political consultants and dozens more staffers and volunteers from their political clubs. And you have to remember, there's almost a 10 to 1 registration advantage in Brooklyn. And you had elected officials from across the state pouring in to help Vito's opponent, and unlimited financial resources against Vito. And we put up such a spirited battle. And again, on election day, we won. But in the end, when all the votes were counted, we did lose. But we had a very energetic, positive campaign focused on the issues. The other side, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this segment talking about their tactics, what they focused on. They certainly didn't focus on the issues. And you mentioned the Edie Falco commercial. Whether she looks back on this a year from now, what she did with that commercial and the ridiculous false claims she made about Vito Bruno, Whether she's proud of what she did and what she said and the preposterous claims that she made is really up to her. Um, I thought it was one of really the lowest
Lowest
points
point of her
in the
career.
campaign.
I have so much. I still have respect for her as an actress, but I have to say that with the current climate for the last, I don't know, 30 years maybe, actors have absolutely disproportional power of their opinion. They have no, they shouldn't have any weight. They haven't done anything. It's like Dr. I'm sorry. It's about like Dr. Jill Biden. You know, you're a doctor once you help to deliver a baby, or you can help a, you know, do something. You know, that's what people say. You cannot be called a doc. The man being called a doctor. Anybody could call anybody anything. In Italy, it's like sign of respect. They used to call Federico Fellini, a great Italian film director, Dottore. That was his name on the set. That's how they refer to him. But come on, she's like community college teacher who was, by the way, a nanny, I think, in the house when President elect Joe
As you
Biden's.
said,
Yeah,
as you said before, she's a terrific actress. But whatever, regardless of her occupation, I'm a little taken aback that someone would just go on television and read from a script.
yeah.
I don't want to dignify what she said about Vito by repeating it, but making these just absurd claims based on incidents that first didn't happen. And if they did happen, they would have happened 40, 50 years ago, for crying out loud. And, we wanted to talk about the fact that crime in Brooklyn and New York City is skyrocketing, the fact that our economy is in shambles, the fact that the tax climate is so rigged against the middle class, working class families in southern Brooklyn. We wanted to talk about education. We wanted to talk about seniors. They wanted to talk about some Hollywood myth story
Yeah.
that, this,
As someone said,
they wanted to run against Carlitos Way.
as someone big shots in talk radio said, I mean, the guest called in. He said, Republicans have policy, Democrats have tactics. They want power. What do you want power for? Oh, we'll see. We'll get the power, then we'll tell you. Like Nancy Pelosi said, you vote for the bill for the health care, for the Obamacare, then we'll tell you what's in the bill. So this is like absolutely ridiculous, and a lot of people see it, and I cannot believe that Republicans are so hopeless in New York, have no hope for winning ever again, and it is being drilled into our brains, drilled into our children's brains that Republicans have no chance. Your example, Vito Bruno's example, shows that we have a very great chance. But tell us about the counting. This is the popular word now, the counting of the votes.
Well, it's interesting because Vito Bruno's the 22nd Senate district is the only district in New York State that the first batch of tens of thousands, maybe absentee ballots were mailed erroneously. They had one name and address on the inside, on the inner envelope, and a different name and address on the outside envelope.
Shouldn't have been
So what
thrown
they wound up
away.
having to do,
They should have been thrown away.
um, yes, I am
Never know.
not a Board of Elections operations specialist, and I'm not sure exactly how they remedied it, and I'm not criticizing anyone from the operational aspect, but when you send all these tens of thousands of absentee ballots in a Senate district and then you send them again, the system is not set up to support correcting such a problem. Let's be candid. I'm not necessarily saying this was a conspiracy or it was done with bad intentions. The fact is you can't fix this. A mistake like this, you can try to correct it as much as possible, but if I were to estimate, I'm sure a couple of people, probably a lot more than a couple of people, voted twice. Again, maybe some of them did so by accident, but it's just not.
Maybe
It's not
that's.
conducive to their system.
But we are doing the job of the government officials. You understand that, right? Discussing all this because they refuse to discuss it. and we talk about it. And people who are responsible, the board of election, the control over the audit of the board of election, the audit of the votes, it's something that has to be looked into. This is something that I cannot exclude that they are like hand in glove with each other, and they just let it slide. Like people are told now that they should let it slide all over the country. But we're talking about New York. We won't kind of touch the national scene, so to speak. But in New York, people are kind of desperate. It's what they're doing to us reminds me very much the way this mayor and this governor run the state and the city. It's like Hamas running Palestine. They want to show their people in having problems. We have problems, like they talk like this, even with some accent. I don't know where Cuomo got his accent from. It's not Italian accent, to my ear at least. Not Marlon Brando even didn't speak with such accent. But the thing is, that they believe that they run things really, and all they can do is make people suffer. And sad to say, to Russian ear, to Russian mind, to Russian memories, it's like in the Soviet Union. They wanted to make people suffer. So whatever crumbs they would throw at them, they would be happy, if ever they would throw a crumb. But they just want to suppress. This is how tyranny looks. It doesn't matter. In Soviet Union, there were very rich people. In China, in Mao Zedong times, there were very rich people. In every communist country, in Pol Pot's Cambodia, there were rich people, believe it or not. But they need to suppress. This is the tyranny of a few over everybody else. And in America, it's different. It's really different. But what could be the remedy? Could Republican Party ever kind of raise spirits of us? Because I don't see anybody reaching out to me. I get like 25 mailers from Democrats, but nothing of substance from New York Republican Party.
Well, you made a great point about even Pol Pot and China. There are millionaires in communist systems and socialist systems. A lot of people don't know that. And the communism and socialist system is great if you're already rich. It's terrific. No one will bother you. Let's be candid.
You can travel to America. You can travel to Greece. You can go anywhere if you're a millionaire. Go ahead.
Exactly. Communism and socialism kills middle-class, working-class families who want to rise above and do better for themselves and their families. Communism protects the status quo and the people who have already made it and are super wealthy. It basically kills the working class. And that's why I think you saw a lot of backlash in southern Brooklyn. As far as the Republican Party, there's absolutely room to grow and room to win some elections. And I'll give you an example. I worked on Nicole Maliotakis' mayoral campaign, which obviously we fell short by a lot, right? But one of the problems we had in that campaign was that the polls they would be pushing out would show us at 11%, at 10%. These ridiculous numbers, right?
Yeah.
And we wound up getting almost 30%. People need to understand that it starts by voting. And in southern Brooklyn, I'll give you an example. We had, I think, in the 22nd Senate District in Vito Bruno's race, 102,000 people voting, or 105,000 people voting. There are only 170,000 registered voters in the 22nd District. Now, I think in any previous election in recent memory, no more than 60,000 people voted, right? And Democrats are always saying, oh, when more people vote, Democrats do better. That's actually not the case.
Absolutely not.
When we started this, when we started this, people didn't think Vito had a chance to win, right? Not that many people anyway. And we had one high-priced consultant come in and actually tell us that there would be 20,000 people voting in this election. Obviously not someone who really studied the district.
No, absolutely.
And they said, oh, if it's over 30,000, Vito doesn't have much of a chance, which I thought was ridiculous. But over 102,000, 105,000 people voted in this election, which shattered previous records, and we almost won, being outspent 20-1. And that's because new people who were fed up and usually are not political, They support Republican Party ideas and ideals, but they said, oh, it doesn't matter who gets in there, they do the same thing. It's not true. Maybe that was true 20, 30, 40 years ago. I don't know. Maybe the Democrats and Republicans were more similar in the cities, but now you have radically different policies being implemented. Anybody who tells me, oh, it's all the same, they all do the same thing. Can you imagine Rudy Giuliani's time as mayor or even Michael Bloomberg's time as mayor compared to Bill de Blasio's time as mayor? Their priorities, their policies are very different. People need to accept that elections have consequences, policies have consequences. People need to get involved. What helped Vito Bruno is that we had a lot of volunteers, a lot of newcomers, a lot of people just donating their time who normally would never get involved, and they kept us in the fight. And they almost pulled us through to victory in the fight. And we've got to keep this up. We need more people voting. We need to see those long lines of early voting, and we need to register people to the party. Even if you don't register as a Republican, I would hope you register as a Republican, but register and vote. Local elections matter because local elections decide who administers the elections, right? We don't want to talk much about nationally, but you see in other states and other areas, the people who control the counting are the local elected officials.
Just like as Stalin said, this who counting, those who count.
Right. Exactly. And we need to be part of the process, and we need to elect people at the local level. In southern Brooklyn, for example, it's a much more moderate, centrist, conservative-leaning area than other parts of the city. And again, we fell short this time, but we were outspent by enormous margins. We didn't have a mailer until the last few days of the election, and I don't even think that got into homes in time.
I haven't got none.
I
mean, I'm not in the district, but
right.
but still.
But our opponent sent out 12. 9 of them basically painting Vito as, well, somebody out of a gangster movie, and that's very unfortunate. A gangster / Freddy Krueger horror movie.
Yeah, he's like big. I felt like a Netflix movie in the works when they talked about Vito Bruno. He's like uber villain, nicest, mellowest man I've met, in politics, giving you attention. Because I spoke with people in the Republican Party when I got a little bit introduced to politics, and I was amazed how those people are not present when they talk to you. They're elsewhere. Their mind is elsewhere. You ask them questions. I was not like as inquisitive, even like 1/10 of what I am now. But I just wanted to ask them what they think about that. How, like as a voter, and their mind was elsewhere. They did not care much, and that's the result. Whereas people are here, Republicans are here, conservatives are here. I had Russians coming to me saying, "Yuri, it happened. What happened?" "Oh, we became members of the Republican Party. We are here for 20 years in this country. We never voted. This time we vote for the first time, and we want to vote Republican." That was a number of times the conversation that I had. So to me, it was amazing because they cannot stand what's going on in schools. They cannot stand what's going on in education. They cannot see the sanitation situation where they don't come for weeks and weeks and weeks to pick up your garbage, which, they get paid for. And basically, it's a self-serving operation. The MTA, the waste removal stuff, sanitation, a lot of things that we pay for and we don't get it. We don't receive the services, and it's like it should be. They look at it as a situation. I don't know what going to be snowfall tomorrow or today. They still have no time, but exact time when it's going to happen. But everybody's guessing. I don't know what's Vegas thinking about it. What are the bets there? But what De Blasio going to do? Is he able to shovel the snow to send the machines to remove the snow if it becomes such a catastrophic event as they say? But the polls, who's handling the polls? How come they're so skewed? They were so skewed, and they will
Um,
remain.
I, I think I think a lot of moderate voters and Republican voters are less likely to answer the pollsters. I also question their methodologies, certain pollsters' methodologies. Obviously, like I said, with Nicole Malliotakis's race, we had a lot of energy in the streets, but turnout was low. Turnout was abysmally low. I think 8 or 9% of New Yorkers reelected De Blasio because people just didn't think we had a chance. And oh, they said my vote doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count, and that's music to extreme leftist ears. When you have a lot of people saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count,"
Yeah,
because they won't come out and vote. Rest assured. And it's not just Republicans. We have some sensible Democrats, some people I disagree with, um, who lost their primaries because a lot of their supporters stayed home and they didn't think it mattered. And the great Marty Golden, for example, I don't want to call him a legend because he's still very active, and he's still helping a lot of people, but a prolific state senator
absolutely.
who helped so much. And in 2018, he lost. One, he lost because we didn't have early voting, and on that day it was like a monsoon. It was raining
Hmm.
so much. A lot of people stayed home, and a lot of people didn't think Marty could lose. So they said, "Ah, it doesn't matter." And lo and behold, Senator Golden lost by 1,000 votes. So the first step is to be actively involved in the democratic process, and that's by voting. Um, so you have to vote. That's important. And then if you want to join a Republican club or any club, again, it doesn't have to be just a Republican club. It can be any club. And then the next step again is you can volunteer for a campaign. Things are changing. The fact that somebody like Vito Bruno came so close with so few limited resources is because so many new people got involved.
Absolutely. People appreciate the message. People appreciate the goal. People appreciate the purpose. And Democrats give us no purpose in their speeches. I don't see anything in Ocasio Cortez that is attractive to me, especially when she states the whole Green New Deal. It's, who's going to pay for it? I mean, it's like that's it. That's an old man's question. Who's going to pay for it? Let's do it. Let's jump off this
Right.
cliff.
It sounds great,
Somebody's
doesn't
going
it?
to catch
Everything
us
is
in the
free.
at the
You don't
bottom
have
of
to
the
worry
hill.
about it.
Yeah, let's jump. Let's jump.
But
Thelma and
yeah,
Louise over
I
here.
think, yeah, I think a lot of people are going to start looking into her plans a little more. Look, what she's proposing, some of what she's proposing sounds terrific, right?
No, nothing is
Health for
terrific to
all.
me.
Oh,
Elon Musk yesterday said there is not enough electricity in this country. If everybody starts riding electric car, there's no power to power it. It does not come from the outlet. For some people, it's a surprise, but it does not come from those two holes, those two little slots. Elon Musk said it, the
Yuri,
genius.
do you think she even believes any that stuff? Come on. Let's be candid. It sounds great. It's a prepackaged political product. It's Hollywood meets political strategy,
Yeah.
right? It sounds great, especially to a newer generation, a younger generation, I should say. It sounds amazing. But again, this stuff is not possible. It's not practical.
Yeah, let's all just fly.
Um,
Like we are all Superman, right?
you know,
Just
green sounds great, but even when you talk about getting rid of certain carbon emissions, and we all want the environment is very important, clean air, clean water, but a lot of times, you're putting forth proposals that will do nothing to help the environment, but will do plenty to bankrupt hardworking families. And we've already done that in the past with a lot of deals that we've negotiated. And we really can't go back there. I think as more people look into the details of Alexandra Ocasio Cortez's proposals, I don't think it's going to work out very well for her in the end.
no, absolutely. I hope we won't see the end of The end of our world, where the
But like you
green
said, we
power
can't be
would, yeah.
afraid to engage.
Yeah,
We can't be afraid to engage. Like you said, you
absolutely.
were talking to certain Republicans, and they're not there; they're somewhere else. And look, the days of I don't want to be controversial, but the days of the country club, Republican in name only, where they met once a month, once every 3 months, and they really didn't do much besides organize very exclusive events. Those days are over, or our days as a party are over. We need active people. We
Nick,
need people with ideas. We need people who are shy.
absolutely. Keep us posted. Any chance that any shenanigans, as they call them today, and I have a richer word for this, shenanigans at the polls in New York would be investigated under, God forbid, Biden administration? What do you think? Any interest to find out, really, to prevent any semblance of improper voting ever?
I don't think any New York elections are going to be investigated. Any shenanigans will be looked into. The Claudia Tenney race, upstate New York. I don't know if you've been following that, but that just gets weirder and weirder by the day. Claudia Tenney won by 30,000 votes on election night. As the absentee ballots and mail-in ballots kept coming in and coming in and coming in, all of a sudden she went from 30,000 vote lead to 1,000 vote lead to a few hundred vote lead. Then when all said and done, I think she was up. Finally, she said she won the election by 55 votes. Then miraculously, they found a box. I kid you not, they found a box with 45 votes. But I guess that still wasn't enough. This sounds funny, but it's true. Last week, somebody opened a drawer.
Wow.
Somebody at a board of elections opened a drawer and found 12 ballots, 12 new ballots
What were they
there.
doing in
But
the drawer? It should be a different
what I
place.
want to say though, a
Uh,
lot of people in New York City, especially Brooklyn, are very upset. Some are devastated that Vito Bruno lost, right?
I
Some
am.
they're very dejected. But this is a new beginning. Uh, this Don't worry about what happened at the board of elections. I was very worried and I was very upset. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I was very, very disappointed with how things went, and there are things we definitely could have done better down there. We don't need to get into it right now, but this we won't gain anything by criticizing and attacking the operations and throwing around blame and pointing fingers. What we need to do is learn from all of this. We took on a monster and we almost won. Again, Vito Bruno, with his meager budget, small operation and team, almost beat a powerful incumbent senator with all the resources of the state. So we need to look forward. We need to keep people involved. We need to keep people voting. And we've got to get people involved in Brooklyn Republican politics. And I think we have a bright future. And in the upcoming city council elections, we can surprise some people.
Yeah, we definitely have to keep the conversation going so people would not think that we are on the way out, so to speak, as a Republican as Republicans in New York, because we see the growth, we see fantastic. Any business would pick up on this opportunity, saying that from 10 it went to 100,000. It's just amazing moment to invest in this movement, which revealed itself in those local elections, state elections. And I think that a lot of people will look differently. I hope a lot of people would look differently. Of course, it would greatly help if it would show that President Trump won. That would give us like nuclear fuel for our efforts. We're watching the situation. We're trying to do what we can. But if the worst happens, and this I call the worst is Biden-Harris administration, then we just need to know that nothing is lost, basically, if we don't lose it. If we keep it going, if we keep it moving, if we listen to each other, and lastly, as Dr. Oz says, the TV radio personality, a very good doctor, I think, but he says nice things, smart things. Maybe it's not his words even, but he said, "You go to war with the army you have." So it's not the time to
Yes.
remember the 11th Amendment of Ronald Reagan. Don't bash your own. And we just need to find a common way to advance our cause. We agree on the main thing that we cannot be worse than the generation before us. We cannot be worse than them. We got us
We
a pretty comfortable world. We got to keep it this way and better.
and and what you said again, going back to you speak to certain Republicans and they're very quiet and they're not here. If your heart's not in it, find something else. There are people who want to be involved, who will get involved, who will be part of an energetic, loyal opposition party.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of people who need to get involved. As for the president, I just want to say the president may not be declared the new president. Obviously, Biden has a huge advantage with the Electoral College outcome, but the president won the election. Again, people were upset about the Supreme Court decision on Friday with Texas. I actually can understand why they declined to hear the case, but that doesn't change what happened. That's again, I want to focus on mainly on New York City, but let's face facts.
That's right.
Yes, Texas, the Supreme Court declined to hear Texas's case. There was an issue of standing. Again, I don't want to talk about what the Supreme Court decided.
No, let's not talk about it. I
people,
expressed my opinion many times
but
about them, and I have no kind
but when you
words for them.
see, but when you see what happened in Georgia, when they're taking out suitcases, they kick out all of the monitors, and they're literally like out of a movie, putting out suitcases from underneath tables. Come on, look. We could be talking about this for hours.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. That's why.
whether,
Let's not spread
whether or not we
ourselves.
see a second,
Yeah.
whether or not we see a second Trump term in 2021, he won the election. We need to come together, Republicans and Democrats. I'm not going to be one of those people who just refuses to recognize Biden, because that would be counterproductive. But the president won the election. Whether he gets a second term or not, we see so many irregularities in Pennsylvania. Again, we could be talking about this for hours.
It's
But
hard.
think
It's
it's
hard
not.
to get accustomed to a thought that you would live under the illegitimate presidency for 4 years. It's hard
It'll
really
be
to
devastating.
reconcile, with this idea, because it's amazing how the other side, the libs, the Dems, whatever, the people just not interested in seeing the actual. Okay, if anybody says, Yuri Dashevsky is a scumbag and this and so and fascist, I would tell him first, this is my document, this is who I am. I graduated as an architect, I worked as this, I worked as that. I want to prove myself. No, or I just sit and wait until the people just pour garbage on my head. Don't they want to know what the elections were, in fact? Let's see if Biden is a legit president. So many people object to that. So many people see irregularities. So many people did something, as Ilhan Omar said.
And they
Some
were
people
caught.
did
They were
something.
caught.
They don't want. They hide behind the presumption of
They were caught.
innocence. It's not.
It's kind of like trying to claim that because um, we see the evidence. Again,
Everybody
the courts
does.
may not be able to intervene in time, but in Pennsylvania they had an error rate of something like 6% rejection rate,
60%,
and
16 on the machines, 60% in Georgia, I think. It's just incredible.
yeah,
This
and
is
all of a sudden, again, we can point to a lot of things, but it's obvious that there was fraud. Now, again, I think it's so funny when they say, but it wasn't widespread fraud. How much fraud do you need to have? Is there an
yeah.
official fraud
Ask any cop
threshold?
how many tickets you need to speeding tickets you need to. to get your car taken
I
away.
mean, but what's important though, and this goes to Georgia and it goes to New York City too, we can't be disappointed. We can't just, if we don't get a second Trump term, we can't get depressed and insular and not be involved. That's exactly what radical leftists want. They want us to go home and shut up for the rest of our lives. It's important that no matter what happens on Inauguration Day, that we stay active, that we vote, that we get
Absolutely.
involved, that we get out there. We resist these crazy policies.
Nick, thank you so
More
very
important than anything
much.
else.
We won't commit this deadly,
Thank you, Yuri.
deadly sin of
Take care.
being upset and disappointed. Thank you so very much for your time. We'll talk about it anytime, sometime
pleasure.
soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Yuri. Bye.